Hey everyone, this is Tamika Grooms here with Kidslit ATL. I'm so happy to see you back here. And if you haven't been here before, welcome, welcome, welcome. Again, my name is Tamika Grooms. I'm an author and an illustrator of children's books. And this channel is dedicated to children's book creation and giving you information about that. Kidslit ATL is a small organization local to the Atlanta community, and we focus on supporting writers and illustrators who want to learn more about creating children's books. So I am here to give you a little more information about resources if you want to learn how to create children's books. And so today I wanted to talk about some books that you may want to look into. But before I get into that, I started pulling out some books that I have from when I was a very young child, long, long time ago. The wear and tear on these books show how old they are, but I absolutely love them because they were my introduction into reading. This one, Little Bear by Elsie. I'm gonna mess this up, so I'm just not gonna say it. Little Bear was one of my favorites as a child, and I, for some reason, thought I was an illustrator at a young age, and so I started marking in the books, like all through the books. There's lots of crayon marks and stuff through here. But anyway, this was one of my favorite children's books from back in the day. And then this one, I'm Terrific, is illustrated with, looks like graphite pencil, but I really enjoyed these illustrations from when I was a kid. And this book, I think, actually used to belong to my brother, Terrell. And I probably thought that because he has a very high self-esteem, and I think that he thinks that he is terrific. And this book probably taught him that at a young age. I hope he watches this video so that he knows I'm talking about him online. But anyway, I'm Terrific. Was another one that I really enjoyed as a kid. And I have illustrations that I did as well. See my name, one of my first illustrations, and this was my best friend, Kelly, back in the day. She was my best and first friend when I was 2. So anyway, so I wanted to show you those because I've been in this game for a long time. And I don't mean that I've been published for a long time, but I think I've been a lover of children's books for a very long time. My mother was a librarian when I was a young child. She was a high school librarian, and then she moved on while we were on military bases to continue her librarianship as I got older. And then she moved into other careers after that. But I think that her love for books and her value for learning at that time in her life rubbed off on me. And I've always been a lover of children's books and reading in general. Although as I got older, a lot of my reading became more for learning as opposed to enjoyment. So now I'm going back to that and learning more and more about children's books every day. Okay, so that being said, I'm going to come back. I showed you that for another reason, but I'm going to come back to that in a second. So my tip top first and foremost resource that I would suggest to anyone who is just beginning to learn about children's books and how to create them is Writing with Pictures by Yuri Shulevitz. And this, to me, I think everybody should really own a copy of this if you're interested in children's books, because it gives you all the details of what you need to look for in order to tell stories with pictures. So not a middle grade book, not a YA, but for books for children that are heavily illustrated or at least influenced by illustration, and they tell stories through pictures. If you want to learn more about that, this is the book that you should start off with. And it's called Writing with Pictures, How to Write and Illustrate Children's Books by Yuri Shulevitz. And one thing I wanted to pull out in here, you can find this online. And so I'm doing Vlogmas this December 2020. And part of what I like to do for Vlogmas which is a mouthful to say, is share a little bit of the process of illustrating children's books, possibly writing. I have a story that I've written that I'm playing around with some illustrations on. So you'll see me go through that process this month. And that's what I want to accomplish with Vlogmas 2020, is to show you some things online related to illustrating and writing children's books. So one of the resources is this book, and thumbnails are one of the things that I'm going to talk about this month. And I wanted to show you that this is an example of what thumbnails look like and how you lay out a book at a very early stage. And your thumbnails can be this small if you want them to be, or they can be the size of your thumb, but this is a little bit smaller than my thumb, or they can be the size of a Post-it note, or you can do them bigger, a little bit bigger. But the idea is to be able to show the flow of illustrations through the book in a very rough form. They can be stick figures, they can be something that you really can't even understand, or they can be slightly more detailed. But the idea is to get a flow and a layout and an understanding of how the book, how the characters, how the settings, how things move through the book from start to finish. So we have here page 1, and it goes all the way to page 32, which is the typical length of a children's books. So I'm not going into the construction so much of why it's 32 pages yet. I might talk about that later, but this is a great book to get more details about the resources. Get more details about the reasons why there are 32 pages in a children's picture book. Okay, so you do need to understand why. And I'm not going to talk about that today. You have to stay tuned. All right, so these are thumbnails. Another thing that unfortunately I don't have a picture of in this book, I may talk about this online, but so I'm the illustrator coordinator for SCBWI Southern Breeze, and we have an award that's coming up where applications are open for the Liz Conrad Award. And one of the things that the people are going to be illustrating who decide to apply is a story. They have to do a double page spread. And that double page spread is going to just be a full open picture of whatever part of the book that they want to show, or part of the story that they want to show. And so what they've been challenged to do is to create a double page spread for an 8x10 children's book. So as an example, say if this was actually an 8x10 book, when you open it, it will be, let me see if I can do my math properly. Y'all help me out. So if this is 8 and this is 10, then 8 becomes 16 and this becomes 10, right? For the actual cut pages for when they're in the book. So an 8x10 book will become 10x16 for the trim size. And the trim size is where the pages are actually cut. Okay, and so what happens, looks like I'm trying to avoid the conversation of signatures because I usually explain it wrong. But when the publisher is cutting the pages or the printer is cutting the pages, I'm not going to explain this because I know I'm going to mess it up because my math starts getting wonky. But the signatures are going to have, there's going to be 8 signatures per sheet. And so what they do is they cut it, and what they end up with is a trim size based on what that trim size of the book is. So 8x10 is the size of the book. The trim size of the pages in the book together are going to be 10x16. And then this is the gutter. So if you're illustrating a double page spread, it doesn't necessarily have to bleed off the page. I'll come back to that in a second, but the image is going to spread across 2 pages. That's what double page spread means. And then this is the gutter. So if you had any information, oh my gosh, I don't have my book that I wanted to show you, but if you have any information important, let's see if I have a picture. I do not. Doggone it. Okay. Well, I was going to show you Kadir Nelson's books because he loves to do um, full bleed, double page spread illustrations that go across both pages. As an example, unfortunately, I don't have a picture here with me, but say if we had a picture of a boy and a girl on a playground and it's spread across this page. You wouldn't want to put the boy and the girl running across from one side of the playground to the other in the middle of the gutter, because when you see how I'm folding this, so when they put this book together, information can be lost in this gutter and you don't want that. So you want to make sure that you compose your page so that the important information is actually on the page. And you also want to be aware of where these edges are here too. So the margins of the page. So you don't want any information that could possibly get cut off at the trim. And so if you have an image that is bigger than this 8x16 size, and you actually want to, you want to leave space for the printer to have, so that when they cut it, that they're not going to cut off your image. So you say if you did an illustration that was 11x17, I'm just throwing out a bigger number that's bigger than this. So if this 11x17 image you created as an artist is going to be cut down to a page size, trim size that will fit in this book, full page open, that is 10x16. And those are not the exact numbers. I'm just using that as an example because you need space through here too. You want to make sure that there's enough space on your illustration, your image, that goes outside and around this trim size all the way around, right? And leave space for the gutter and leave space for things to fall off the side, because when they cut this down to an 16x10 book, you don't want to lose any information in the gutter or off the side of the pages. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, please message me in the comments, and I'll try to put together something that actually is a little more clear. But I think that's probably the best way I can explain it right now with the words that I have in my mouth. All right. So anyway, check this book out. It's a great resource. Another, so like I said, I was talking about full double page spread, full images that bleed off the side. But the reason why I showed this old book is because these do not bleed off the side, right? So they've contained the images within this nice ornate border, and everything is nice and tidy here. There's nothing falling in the gutter, not even this little bear that's really close. And he could fall in, but they've taken into account that these signatures are sewn together. Nice little binding, old school binding. That's why it lasts so long, is because it's actually sewn together. But they've taken into account that we don't want this bear to fall into the gutter. And we also don't want to lose anything off the side of the page. So let's go ahead and create a nice little border in the margin that keeps everything nice and tidy. So this does end up being 2 pages, but it's not a double page spread. So what I'd like to see the people who apply to the Liz Conrad Award do is create an image that spreads across both pages. That's one continuous image, but takes into account the fact that we're going to have an 8x10 trim size book, and we have gutter, and that's the trim size. Okay. All right. So that's that. Couple of other resources, and then I'm going to get off because I'm talking too long. Illustrating children's books is a good one. Creating Pictures for Publication by Martin Salisbury. I also have children's picture books, The Art of Visual Storytelling. So these are heavy on illustration, right? But there are lots of other writing resources too. There's one that comes out every year that I always forget the name of. I think it's called the Children's Book Market the children's book market or something like that. And it has information about editors, agents, and just the market as a whole. But my favorite, because I am an SCBWI member, is the book. And I always get it by this printed, but if you're a member, you can get it for free, download the PDF. It's part of your membership. I always pay the extra shipping and handling to have the book sent to me because I like to mark in it. I like to mark off who I've sent submissions to. I like to highlight who I want to submit submissions to. And this is a great resource. It has articles in it that talk about the children's book market. It gives you ideas of how to self-publish the proper way, how to find an illustrator if you're going that route. It has market surveys to tell you about the agents, the editors, the publishing houses that are looking for what and who's where, and who you should submit to, and all those things. So this is a great resource. Let's see, creating picture books for dummies. It talks about creating dummies for picture books, and we're gonna hopefully be doing that during this Vlogmas period. It talks about giving critiques, talks about mentorship. So lots of great articles in here. This is the book if you're an SCBWI member. SCBWI stands for the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. It's a great resource for writers and illustrators who need community and are trying to get their work published. It is not a promise to publication, but it's a great community to support you on your journey to publication and beyond. So I invite you to learn more about that, and also follow us on Kids Lit ATL and Kids Lit ATL TV, because we're also giving resources and we're accessible to you here in the Atlanta community. If you want to learn more about that, hop on over to my website at tamikatheartist.com. And there's a link on there for Kids Lit ATL. There's also a local meetup where we have things right now online for you to build community locally if you're a writer or an illustrator. And there's also a Facebook group for that as well. Okay, whew, I made it through. Hope y'all are having a fabulous day, evening, morning time, whenever you listen to this. And I will see you soon, hopefully tomorrow. Tomorrow, I have some ideas that I want to share with you. So I'll see you then. Y'all take care, and I'm out. Kids Lit ATL. Kids Lit.